And when they had preached the word in Perga, they went down into Attalia, and thence sailed to Antioch, from whence they had been recommended to the grace of Elohim for the work which they fulfilled. Now, I want you to know that there's two Antiochs. So, the word is not contradicting itself as some would teach, but there's actually two Antiochs. And if you look in the dead center, you see Antioch of Galatia, and you look over to the right, you'll see Antioch of Syria. So, they were in Galatia, they got on the water, and they sailed over to Antioch of Syria. Acts 15, verses 1 through 5. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moshe, ye cannot be saved. This is the perverted gospel right here that was being taught to all of Galatians. Except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moshe, ye cannot be saved. When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go to Jerusalem unto the apostles and the elders about this question. And being brought on their way by the ecclesia, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversion of the Gentiles, and they caused great joy unto all the brethren. And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the ecclesia and of the apostles and elders, and they declared all things that Elohim had done with them. But there arose up certain of the sect of Pharisees which believed, these are the false brethren that was spoken of, saying that it was needful to circumcise them. This word needful is diat, number 1163, and it means a necessity in reference to what is required to attain some end. So they were saying that it's needful that they had to become circumcised in order to be saved, which is not of the gospel. We went over the true gospel. We didn't see this in it because this was not of the gospel. Not of the gospel of Yahushua. Continue on in Acts 15, 6 through 11. It says, and the apostles and elders came together for to consider this matter. And when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, men and brethren, ye know that a good while ago Elohim made choice among us that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. And Elohim, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Ruach HaKodesh, even as he did unto us, and put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Now therefore, why tempt ye Elohim to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of Adonai Yahushua Messiah, we shall all be saved, even as they. What does he mean by grace? This word is charis, number 5485, and it means goodwill, loving kindness. Grace in the Hebrew is konan, number 2603, and it means to bend or stoop in kindness to an inferior, which we already went over. Now, Acts 15:12 says, then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders Elohim had wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon hath declared how Elohim at first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. And to this agree the words of the prophets as it is written. After this I will return, and I will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after Adonai and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith Yahuwah, who doeth all these things. Known unto Elohim are all his works from the beginning of the world, says Adonai, who makes up these things known from of old. What I have here is another version of Acts 15:18. In the King James it says, known unto Elohim are all his works from the beginning of the world. But it can be translated as says Adonai, who makes these things known from of old. So, He said that he told these things from times past, way back in the scriptures, in the Torah. He let it be known what he was going to do, and now he's doing it. He's bringing the Gentiles in, and he's making no exception. He's not treating them as second-hand citizens. You know, they're equal with everyone else. And if you look at throughout Torah, it was always that way. Anyone could be a part of Israel, just about. And if they did come in, they had to adhere to the same rules and regulations as everyone else. There was not a separate law for them and a separate law for the Israelites. They were all to be up under one Torah. Acts 15:19 says, "Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to Elohim." This word "turned" is an epistophe, number 1994. It means to revert, to convert. It's from epi, number 1909, which means superimposition, and strepho, meaning to twist, turn, quite around the reverse. So, it means to convert, to revert or convert from the superimposition, and to twist and turn quite around or reverse. Now, verse 20, Acts 15:20 says, "But that we write unto them that they abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. For Moshe of old time have in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day." Now, ask yourselves, what do these four things mentioned have in common? Now, I want to point out what we see in verse 19. These Gentiles have been converted, and we learned that was a part of the gospel, that they had to be converted even as a little child in order to be saved. We see that they say they have been converted, and they strepho, they have repented, they have twisted, they have turned quite around or reversed their way of thinking. You know, they have superimposed the right way of thinking over. Well, hopefully they didn't just superimpose it. They got rid of their old way of thinking and twisted and turned it towards Elohim, into the right way of thinking. Then we see in verse 20 that four things are given for the Gentiles to do. For Moshe of old time, having every city them that preach him. So, actually what they're saying is, you know, we don't have to teach them all the Torah while they're just coming into the understanding of Messiah, coming into the fold. We don't have to go through teaching them all the Torah, because they're going to learn that on the Sabbath at the synagogues anyhow. So we don't have to go through all that. What's imperative is that they abstain from pollutions of idols, that they abstain from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. These are the essential things, and these are the most fundamental things that they need to know right now. And as they go to the synagogue every Sabbath, they'll learn the rest of Torah. Now, again, ask yourselves, what do these four things mentioned have in common? They are all expansions of the first command Yah gave in Exodus 20, verse 3. "Thou shalt have no other Elohim before me." And this is a pagan temple, and it's carved with all the different Elohim that these people worship. I believe this is from Hindu temple, if I'm not mistaken. Acts 15:20. "But that we write unto them that they abstain from pollution of idols." You see a picture of an idol here. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, thy Elohim, is a jealous Elohim. But this is one of many pagan Elohims. This is one of the ancient ones that they used to erect in the groves, and this was strictly forbidden by Yah, of course. Acts 15:20, it says, and also staying from fornication. 2 Chronicles 21:11-14. Moreover, he made high places in the mountains of Yahudah, and caused the inhabitants of Jerusalem to commit fornications, and compel Yahudah thereto. This was a picture of like one of those high places. And there came a writing to him from Eliyahu the prophet, saying, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of David, thy father, because thou hast not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat thy father, nor in the ways of Asa king of Yahudah, but thou hast walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and hast made Yahudah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to go a whoring, like to the whoredoms of the house of Ahab, and also hast slain thy brethren of thy father's house, which were better than thyself. Behold, with a great plague will Yahuwah smite thy people, and thy children, and thy wives, and all thy goods. Beware the stain from fornication. Also from things strangled. The pagans oftentimes made sacrifices via strangulation. And this was strictly forbidden. They oftentimes would drink the blood of the animals, which is also forbidden. See, these are the things that they would have been most accustomed to doing, and how they would worship their Elohim. And the apostles and the ecclesia wanted to make certain that they didn't start trying to worship Yahuwah Elohim as they did their pagan deities. Psalm 16:4 says, their sorrows shall be multiplied that hasten after another El. Their drink offerings of blood will I not offer, nor take up their names into my lips. And that's truly the way it's supposed to be. Seeing that most, if not all, the Gentiles were polytheists, this was the ecclesia's way of covering all ritualistic bases to assure that the Gentiles served Yah only. But why was Paul so dead set against circumcision? What's the big deal about circumcision? Well, we learn in Genesis chapter 17, verse 13, it says, he that is born in my house, and he that is bought with my money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Genesis 17, verse 11, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. See, this was the big deal. The circumcision is the token, the oath, the sign of the covenant betwixt man and Yah. So, when the Yahudim was convincing the Gentiles to be circumcised, he was actually causing them to enter into the old covenant. And when they entered into the old covenant, they became a proselyte, and the Yahudim truly did have authority over them. And if they were to, then at that time, because during that time, if they were, once they were a proselyte, if they were to break Sabbath, or if they were to break or commit adultery, or break one of those type of commands of Torah, they could literally take them out and stone them. See, this is the bondage that Paul was trying to keep them from. He wanted them to remain free in Messiah. He didn't want them to be up under bondage. He didn't want them to be in the bondage and be up under the curse of the law. And this is what these false brethren that had crept in to spy out the freedom we had in Messiah, This is what they were trying to do. Bring them up under the curse of the law. Because they knew that the circumcision was the token or sign to Yah. And that they could use that to exercise authority over them. Because they sat in the seat of Moshe. This covenant of flesh was instituted for the purpose of preparing Israel to be inhabited by Elohim. By teaching Israel how to be clean and holy. Let us consider Deuteronomy 23:14. For Yahuwah thy Elohim walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, Kodesh, that he see no unclean thing in thee and turn away from thee. See, and this is why we want to be holy. So that when Yah come and he walketh in the midst of us to deliver us from our disease, to deliver us from our situation or our circumstance, and to give our enemies over unto us, we want to be Kodesh, we want to be holy, that he see no unclean thing in us and turn away from us. See, a lot of us can't be healed because we're not holy. He comes to deliver us, and he see unclean things in us, and he has to turn and leave. He turns and leaves without delivering us. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 16 and 17 says, And what agreement hath the temple of Elohim with idols? For ye are the temple of the living Elohim, as Elohim hath said, I will dwell in them, and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, that is holy, set apart, saith Yahushua, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. See, he's telling us to be separate, to be set apart. That's the very definition of holy. So, you see, these are actually parallel verses. Because Yahushua will come, and he wants to deliver us, but he can't because we're unclean. We're not holy. So he turns and leaves. Now, let us consider Romans 8:4-8. That the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, for it is not subject to the Torah of Elohim, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Elohim. I reiterate that the covenant of circumcision is of the flesh. And one aspect of Torah was to teach one how to keep the flesh clean and holy, that the Ruach HaKodesh may dwell within the midst of it, leading and guiding one into the presence of Elohim. See, but now we're to be fathered from above and become spiritual beings. And the Ruach HaKodesh leads and guides us into Elohim. We don't have to be led and guided into the presence of Elohim. The presence of Elohim will indwell within our very being. Moshe told them that he was not the one for them to follow, but the one coming like unto him, speaking of the Messiah. That's the one that they will follow. Let's see, Deuteronomy 8:15 and Acts 3:22. Yahuwah thy Elohim will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren like unto me, unto him ye shall hearken. Acts 3:22. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall Yahuwah your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. Then of course that was our Messiah and King Yahushua. Now concerning circumcision, Romans 2, verses 25-29, for circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law, but if thou be a breaker of the Torah or law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of Torah, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? And shall not uncircumcision which is by nature, if he fulfill the Torah, judge thee, who by the letter in circumcision doest transgress the Torah. But he that is not a Yahudim, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Yahudim, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of Elohim. So you see, it's all about the spirit. We're not to go and circumcise our flesh in order to be led to Elohim, but to circumcise our hearts in order that Elohim will come within us. Now Paul continues stating this case. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter, for he that wrought effectively in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles. And when James, Cephas, and Yochanan, who seemed to be pillars, see, these were the heads of the ecclesia, perceived that the grace was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should